Shot, clock, running, shot, clock, running. Welcome to Shot Clock. If you come in my lane, you getting your shot blocked. Coach BuB on the mic, VA is a hot spot. This is the podcast, tune into the broadcast. It might be a special guest, never know who gon' slide past. Got some topics to discuss while making the time pass. Let's talk about rap, let's talk about fashion, let's talk about sports, or what's the latest gadgets, and I ain't trying to brag. This right here the best show. Cross over, then lay 'em up with the left though. Let's go, you got the rock. Time ticking, who willing to take the shot? Shot, clock, running. Shot, clock, running. Shot, clock, running.
Yo, it's your boy Coach BuB. We on another episode of Shot Clock Podcast, and I got a very, very, very special guest tonight. I got basketball royalty, the point guard. I got the legend, Mr. Tony Rutland. Appreciate you stopping by tonight.
Man, anytime I can help out, I'll definitely help out. I appreciate you for having me.
Okay. So let's go ahead and let's get started. Let's begin. Obviously, you from the Hampton, Newport News side. Let's just talk about the beginning. You know, where you from, how you grew up a little bit, so to get us up to speed.
Yeah, I grew up in Hampton, Virginia. My dad was in the military, so he got stationed at Langley Air Force Base, and from there I used to play in a lot of military leagues where it was, Langley Air Force Base versus Fort Eustis. And, I used to play against Northampton a lot. But that area is where, a lot of great players came out. That's where, at the age of 11 and 12, I was able to meet, AI and, Aaron Brooks and a couple of other guys, Damon Bako, all those guys. That's where we really started playing rec league together in AAU. We actually was the first AAU team that BuB had at the age 13. So he had that league, and ever since then, I went to Davis Middle School. I was able to play there, and that's when Allen moved to go to my middle school in 8th grade. And then ever since then, it was that, as far as like going to Bethlehem High School and playing together for 4 years there. Of course, winning state championship in basketball, and, him winning one in football, and the rest is history.
Okay, so all right, let's go to Bethel High School, right?
Yeah.
So obviously this is your junior year, correct, as well as his, correct?
Yeah, we're in the same grade. Yep.
Okay,
class of '94.
So you win the state championship. So obviously, with you guys returning, that was going to be a situation where we're thinking back to back.
Definitely.
So obviously we know an incident occurs, with the bowling alley, and he's arrested and locked up and doesn't play the senior year. So.
Right.
What does that do for you, going into that year? Obviously, you're the point guard, but he's more of the scorer and you're the facilitator. So what type of role do you have to now shift to, and what is your mindset going into your senior year?
Well, I mean, again, we never thought that he would have got arrested and he would have been convicted of that crime. So I was always thinking positive, and I was thinking that, once it's over with, we're going to go and, go back to back and win the state and and just leave our mark. But then when the verdict came out and, he was charged and, eventually was doing time, it was like, my whole career as far as basketball was just, shine and show what people, what you've been working on. And, my mentality was, I worked every day. I got up early in the morning. My work ethic was crazy. 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, I would work. And then, after school, I would get in more work. But at the end of the day, I think it helped me make that transition to Wake Forest just because, Allen playing the point guard majority of the time in AAU ball and high school, and I was a shooter. I was able to really now focus on, becoming a point guard and a scorer at the same time. So going to Wake Forest, I was recruited as a shooter, but, they had Randolph Childress, who was one of the best players in the ACC. And, I was able to help him out, play on the wing, help him out at point. And, we were able to run him off the ball as far as like being the two. So, when I got to my senior year, I was just able to, play the point, still average, almost 30 points my senior year. But I was able to work on, being a point guard, like breaking the press and get my teammates involved.
Not to cut you off, right?
No, you good.
You mentioned the senior year and, averaging the 26 a game.
Yep.
So it was a game where you had 43 and a half.
Right.
So is this the whole mentality that whole year now? Like, you feel like, did you have to put in those type of points for you guys just to stay afloat now? Obviously, you lost to Allen Iverson.
Yeah, it was. I mean, we had good players, because we had guys returning, but I definitely had to put up 30-plus points for us to win. We didn't have a great year that we wanted to, but, a lot of teams now focus, on me. At first it was like, who we're going to let get 30, 40 points. Was it going to be Allen or was it going to be me? And, a lot of times, Allen would get his 30 or whatever, and I, get my 15, 20, almost 30 points while we were playing together. But, when he was gone, it made it more difficult because, everybody was concentrating on me. It was like more of, they're not going to let me beat them by themselves. But, again, I credit all my work ethic, and, I still was able to put the numbers up and play as well.
Okay. All right, so you finish your senior year. Obviously, you guys come up short. You don't win the state championship. Who'd you guys lose to?
My senior year, we actually didn't make it out of the district just because, again, it was Denby High School. Again, the Coach Katufis, he ran, I think every minute they were running guys in and out just to guard me and stuff. But, that was a game that I scored 43 points in the first half. And so it was my last game that I, played, and as my high school career ended on that note. So, I have no regrets. And again, I gave it 100%, it just, my gas tank ran out, and, we ended up losing by 4 points. But again, when people say put it all on the line and give it all your last game, I believe I did that.
Definitely left it on the court. All right, so
yeah.
So obviously, as a 4-star recruit, a lot of teams across the country are after you. What's the decision to go to Wake Forest, and what did you choose Wake Forest over?
A lot of people asked, and growing up in Virginia, of course, is definitely an ACC country school. State. Growing up, you got Ralph Sampson, you got UVA there, and with the history that the ACC had with all the great players that come out of there, that's all we knew. And so going into my senior year, I took a visit to Auburn. I really liked Auburn. I liked the coach there. It was Tommy Joe Eagles. And then it was Richmond, who my best friend, Damon Bako, who his dad actually taught me how to, just how to shoot as far as like fine tuning my jump shot. And then it was Wake Forest, and it was UVA. Actually, I really wanted to go to UVA, but they had one scholarship left. And Curtis Staples at the time committed before me, and that was it. So I felt like that, going to Wake Forest was close enough to home, but, still far enough where I can, still have a great, college career.
Okay, so you get to college, and obviously Childress is there, all ACC, one of the best guards in the country. So
right.
What are some of the things you learned, coming up under him, and,
him, he took me under his wings, and he was able to tell me how to be a leader vocally and get the respect from the players. And it didn't have to, it had nothing to do with scoring points. It all had to do with just demanding, respect from the players. He did it when I was a freshman, going in the ACC tournament when he had that run, breaking the record. And I think that record is still today. But it was during a timeout where he was like, man, give me the ball. He's like, I'm not going out like this. He was like, give me the ball or get out of the way. And, and I took that into my sophomore year because, Coach Odom actually was like, okay, now it's your team. And I'm like, we got Tim Duncan, he All-American. I'm like, that's not my job. And, he's like, you got to demand respect and you got to be the leader. Tim is the main guy, yes, the focal guy, but, you have to be the coach on the court and you have to be my guy on the court. And that's what I had to do. And I learned a lot from Randolph Children's doing that.
Okay, so let's go back to where you said, okay, obviously the coach tells you, it's your team and, it's your team to run the show, obviously, but we're going to focus on Tim Duncan.
Yeah.
So what is it like playing with Tim Duncan, as a point guard?
Man, it's like the easiest thing ever. If you know the game and you study the game as a point guard or as a guard in general, he made the game so much easier for you. You had to make it easy for him because he was going to make it easy for me. Okay. And, he demanded the double teams and if we didn't put ourselves in the situation to help him out getting double team, he would have had a horrible year or a horrible career because all teams would have did was just double team him and, nobody would have been able to finish. And, we had to make it easy where I had to, penetrate and get him easy shots and put him in a situation where he could get easy baskets because if it wasn't going to be easy for him, it'd have been very difficult for him to get the points that he got. But other than that, man, he was the best player to play with, made it so much easier for me and him.
Okay, so Tim Duncan is obviously one of those guys that we don't know too much about. What was he like, just, as a college kid and, All-American, best player in the country?
Man, when I first met Tim, I was on a visit going to Wake Forest, and I believe it was during the World Series when I came in. And when I came in, we all stayed at, Wake Forest had freshman dorms, and it was like you had a lobby with a big TV, and it was open to anybody who wanted to watch whatever. And so when I come in, they're showing me the campus. He's laying down on the lobby with a big gallon of ice cream and one spoon, and he's eating the whole thing, just watching the World Series. But, he's one of those guys that he's the ultimate team player. Like, in our locker room was basically our domain. And he knew all the Mortal Kombat combos that you can do for every player. He was good at every video game that we had in the locker room. So if you wanted to be good in a video game, it was Sega at the time, you had to beat Tim. So, we always came in, we always practiced, and we always tried to beat Tim Duncan because he was the best at all the video games in the locker room.
Okay. So how successful were you guys with beating him in the video games?
Not too successful. Because at any time he knew it all. Like, again, like his hands were so huge, they were bigger than a remote. But again, he was able to hit like the max combos on Mortal Kombat. It was crazy. So by the time we finished, it was done. So the only thing we could do is just try to go in there and practice and play another game or like a basketball game or something or football because he didn't really know anything about football. It was all about soccer and basketball. And, a lot of people don't understand he was like 16th in the nation in swimming, and then when the hurricanes came, it wiped out a lot of the pools, and that's when he turned to basketball. So, as far as him, man, he's like the ultimate guy. A lot of people don't really get in his circle, but once you're in his circle, man, you're in there forever.
So you telling me if we didn't have the Hurricanes, there's a possibility we never could have known Tim Duncan, the basketball player?
We would probably not know. We probably would have known Tim Duncan as like the Michael Phelps of his age.
Wow.
And you know, to be that long, I'm pretty sure he would have broke a lot of records if he would have kept going. Because you know, to be 16th in the nation, and he was probably not even at his peak height. You know, I know he would have probably been crazy, because that was what we did in the off season. We worked out in the pool because that was his go-to. That was his thing that he knew about, and that was swimming. And that's what we did in the off season, was just work out in the pool.
Okay. So let's describe the feeling of, you know, when you go on that run, and of course, you know, you being from Virginia, so you're an ACC guy.
Yeah.
What's that feeling like when you win the ACC championship?
Man, it was great, just because you know, Wake Forest hadn't won an ACC championship in a while.
Yeah. And
you feel like you want to go to a school where, one, it's going to fit you. You know, I see now a lot of players are going into transfer protocol and all that stuff, but you know, my dad had me do a lot of research on any school that was recruiting me, and that was the main thing. Is one, could I get in and play right away? And two, what is their transfer rate? Three, you know, how were they recruiting? Like, do they always bring in guards every year, or this and that? And you know, that was one of the things that I really liked about Wake Forest, is that I could come in and play right away. And, you know, I was able to start my freshman year. And then, you know, my mom got sick, and I became like the sixth man off the bench. My coach had a big thing where if it worked, then he was going to stick to it for the whole year. You know, it's very superstitious like that, you know. So I came off the bench that one time, but, you know, I would finish the game, or I would start the second half. Instead, again, that was just, you know, so again, like going to Wake Forest and just winning an ACC championship my freshman year, and then winning again my sophomore year, it was great because it hadn't been done since the 60s, you know, at Wake Forest. And again, it hadn't been, like, it's hard to do just in the ACC period to win back to back. So, you know, that was an accomplishment in itself. And, you know, winning the second time, I felt, you know, that was the better one because I had more input in that game, you know, into that year, because, you know, I was scoring more. And, you know, my freshman year, my coach said, well, I don't need you to score. I just need you to pass it to Randolph, pass it to Tim, you know, play defense. And then when it came to me in the offseason, he's like, okay, now it's your team. You can score, you know, pass it to Tim and, you know, run the team. I felt like I've been here before. And so when I had the year that I had, you know, it meant a lot, and it meant more just because I felt like that, you know, I wasn't a role player. I was like one of the key guys. And, you know, and that was just real big for me.
Makes sense. Okay, so who were some of the guards that you were playing against when you were in the ACC? Just to paint the picture for somebody.
Man.
Some of my listeners weren't born.
Travis Best, he was like one of the toughest guys that I had to guard and play against. Left-hand guy, Stephon Marbury, who was a legend. Ed Cota, North Carolina legend. Shamon Williams, you know, Vince Carter I played against. Let's see, that was, you know, you had Oshua Benjamin, who was a McDonald's All-American. CeCe Harrison. Archie Miller, who was the coach at Indiana. He was at Indiana, at NC State. Terrell McIntyre, who was at Clemson. He was another cold guard. You had Curtis Staples. You had Harold Dean. You had Jamal Robinson. You had Terrell Stokes at Maryland. LaRon Prophet. Keith Booth, X-Ray Hip. And my senior year, which I thought they had that year that they won the national championship with Maryland won it with Steve Franchise and who was it was the other guard there.
Juan Dixon?
But Juan Dixon, when he was a freshman, I was a senior, but he didn't really play as much. So he was there. I was watching film and saw him on the bench, and I didn't realize that he was playing. But man, the ACC was loaded with guards.
Yeah, definitely.
So, and then you had the Florida State guys Collins, you had Lamar Greer, you had a whole bunch of top players that came through the ACC, and it wasn't no days where you had it easy. It was like straight competition every day.
Okay, so let's move along. So how do we now, transition from college and then we start our pro career? Like what is that like? What was that?
Well, like my sophomore year, I tore my ACL, and again, I was having a great year. A lot of chatter, and during the ACC time was like up until that game that it was a possibility that I could leave my sophomore year and get drafted just because I was having a great tournament. And it was leading into the NCAA tournament. I just played Stephon Marbury, played a lot of guys, and I was able to get good numbers. But, again, I tore my knee up, and coach came to me after I rehabbed or before I rehabbed, was like, hey, Tim Duncan's not coming back unless you play. And I'm like, well, I'm thinking that I'm getting redshirted just to get myself, back or whatever. And, that was just the respect I had from him. He felt like if he wasn't going to have the help or have the leadership, then he back. So, I was able to rehab and just be out there and help him. But, that transition to the pros was tough because, that ACL label was on me, and I wasn't as athletic as I used to be. I was able to dunk anytime I wanted to, speed wise. But, I think that, if I would have took a year off and really built my knee up, I think I would have been back to where right, 100%. But, again, I don't question none of that stuff. I was able to go overseas and play about 8 or 9 years, and 8 or 9 years overseas was wonderful. They treated me like the NBA.
What was that experience like? What was that experience like? And what were some of the countries you were in?
Man, I tell any player, any young player, if you're not going to be in the NBA, to go overseas just because you're able to experience different cultures, the foods, just how people really look at basketball. Basketball is an international language, and my passport, man, was fully stamped with a whole bunch of. I've been to Cyprus, Dubai. I played in Korea, where I'm half Korean. I was able to play in front of my grandmother. I went to Poland. I've been Dominican Republic, Syria, Lebanon, Japan. So again, just to travel all over the world is nothing like it because, again, basketball is an international language. Everybody loves it. And you got paid to do something that you really love, and that was play basketball.
Okay. So, so you finished your career, the 9 years. So did you always know you wanted to coach, or how did you get into coaching?
I knew basketball was my passion just because of how hard I worked. But, I got in. I think being a mentor was something that, has always been in me just because, we always used to go out and do a lot of community outreaches in college. And as you in pros, you go out and speak. And I knew that, being a mentor was it. I had a sociology degree. So leaving the school and after basketball, I leaned on my sociology degree, and I got into law enforcement. And when I got into law enforcement, I was able to help like in felony probation, where I was helping guys and, come out of prison and, almost like reform, where we would help them with interview skills, help them, with housing, medications and stuff like that, so they wouldn't be a repeat offender. Exactly. Because the key is to make sure that people don't go back into the system. And that's just where we were. So I did that for like, a good 9 years. And then, but I was always helping with basketball, whether it was training little kids. I helped out at a rec center in Atlanta. And from that point on, I felt like that, I wanted to get back into the basketball. And I think coaching was it.
All this took place in Atlanta.
Yeah, majority of the stuff took place in Atlanta. And then something just popped up where I was able to go to Virginia, because in Virginia it was a job that popped up at Hampton Christian. And one of my friends was like, hey, my son is at Hampton Christian. Why don't you put in for the job? And I was like, man, okay. And I called the AD. And I had an interview, and then I moved up to Virginia, and I coached there for a couple of years. My first year, I had, a great squad. It was like 6 seniors, and, they played well. But, as a coach, that was just one of the hurdles, coming in and trying to break bad habits.
I got you.
And then my second year, I had one senior, and the rest were like freshmen, sophomores, and juniors, and we won our district. And that was the first time it's been done since, I want to say, 99. So when I won it a couple of years ago, they hadn't won one in almost 20 plus years, and so that was a good feat itself, was just the fact that, I was able to put in work and have the kids work hard, and we was able to win our district, and we beat the #1 team in the state. So, that we lost to them twice, and then we beat them in the tournament the third time, and
got them when they count.
And we were up to go to the state semifinals, and we ended up losing in overtime to the team who eventually won it. But no regrets, and they did their thing, and Hampton Christian gave me my first opportunity just to be a head coach in high school, and I was able to play a lot of schools in the PD where I, grew up at. And, it was a great thrill. Then, now I'm in Tennessee, and this is my first year coaching as a head coach here. And I was assistant coach with this lady, Dawn Barger. She was actually a female coach that was coaching the boys. And when I came in, she had a good young class, and I was able to help and develop them, and they're juniors now, so I play against them, and they love beating up on me now because I taught them everything. So, but at the end of the day, it's all about the kids, and I'm not mad at it at all, because I feel like that I put my input on all the kids.
Okay. So have you guys played the season yet, or because of COVID you haven't been able to get on the court yet?
We did. We played a whole season this year. When I came in, I took over this at Laverne High School, and I had probably 2 returners that played last year, and they only averaged 4 points. So it was like I was starting
totally
from scratch.
Rebuilding the program.
Yeah, and our philosophy was it's a marathon, not a sprint. And because of COVID, we weren't able to practice and do a lot of the things that I wanted to put in. But once they said the season was going on, the season was going. So I had a total of 15 days to officially practice with the guys, and put in the offense and defense and all that stuff. So the season was an as-you-go, learn type situation where I was getting to know them and they were getting to know me. But I had probably a total of 10 sophomores, 4 juniors. I had 1 freshman, and then I had a couple of seniors that played. And but at the end of the day, like towards the end, we upsetted a team to advance in the district, but we end up losing to a team that made it to the finals. So again, it was a success for us because nobody figured that we were gonna win anyways. So I was able to, I think the last 5 games, win 3 of the last 5, and that's just all you want. So I think, you know, going into next year, I think we start from that, and I've laid my foundation for the future.
Okay, good to hear, man. Good luck to you in your program.
Appreciate it.
Have some success. So let's talk about. I read something about you got your AAU team, and was Joe Smith on that AAU team as well?
Man, Joe Smith, Faisal Abraham, Damon Bako, Tyreek Turner. We had so many guys that really could go. A lot of D1 athletes.
Was AI on that team too?
Yeah, AI was on the team as well. Yeah, and you know, again, Joe Smith was one of the.
Did y'all win the national championship?
We did. We beat Jerry Stackhouse, Jeff McGinnis, Jeff Caples. So we beat the Charlotte team at the time. Yeah, it was really good. Man, we had a team, and everybody wanted a piece of us, and man, it was tough. We had it tough. We had shooters, we had defenders, we had guys that just came off the bench that was crazy.
Okay, so playing with both Tim Duncan and Allen Iverson, right?
Yeah.
As a point guard, which one makes life easier? A big man like Tim Duncan or a scoring guard like Allen Iverson?
I would say Tim Duncan, just because I knew that he was getting double teamed. And I knew where he was getting double teamed, and I knew where the double team was coming. So I knew that if I was able to pass or call a play where they were going to double team, I knew that if the ball got rotated, I would be able to get a shot. Or if I set a screen for Tim Duncan, a back screen for Tim Duncan to go to the post, my man had to help. So I was able to get the ball and shoot.
Okay.
Allen made it easy just because a lot of people concentrated on him. And, so I was able to get easy baskets, whether it's, off the offensive rebound or on the wing when they go help, and he was able to kick it out, you know what I mean? But, again, AI scored a lot, but a lot of teams would say, you know what, we know Allen's going to get his, but, we can't let these other guys get theirs. And, so they wouldn't, they eventually stopped leaving me and stuff. But whereas Tim Duncan, he could change the game, whether it's double team or it's passing or whatever. So you had to pick and choose what you wanted to do.
All right. So it's been some really, really, really good Wake Forest guys like Chris Paul, Rodney Rogers, Muggsy Bogues.
Yep.
And these guys didn't win the ACC.
Yeah.
So what is that feeling like, knowing that, when you were there, you set a standard.
You there?
Yeah,
Go ahead.
That you set a standard of, of what, Wake Forest basketball was supposed to be, and, that set that tradition.
Man, I didn't think nothing of it until they had a reunion. They had a reunion for our '94 championship team, and when Chris Paul was there, and other guys like Ishua Smith, he was there, and other guys like who's been through the program, Josh Howard. When they come to you, be like, hey, Team Rutland, this and that, oh yeah, I used to watch you play, I used to look up. Then you realize that, you set a standard for it. At this point in time, I think we set a great standard for Wake Forest basketball, and I think we can get back there, but, we got to get guys that want it, and Wake Forest is a tough school, academically to get in and stay there, but man, just to see guys who's been through the program, Jeff Teague, Osh Smith, Chris Paul, Josh Howard, Muggsy Bogues, and Randolph Childress. I mean, he's like one of the top guys, and I joke with him all the time. He got one ACC championship, I got two. it ain't too many people got back to back. So, you know, I tell them, you and he respects it, because when I came in, you know, I came in as a freshman and I said, I'm gonna take your job. And, you know, he's from Maryland, so he should know that I was gonna come in and talk just because I'm from Virginia.
Yeah.
And so, you know, and I think that bond that we had, you know, we still had that today. You know, he just decided to go in another direction from Wake Forest. He's been there a long time, and, you know, it's a business. You know, when it comes to coach, just like the NBA, it's a business. And, you know, I respect everything and what he's done for the program, and, you know, trying to bring back, you know, what we had. But, you know, when a coach wants to go in another direction, and, you know, he decides to go there. So, you know, but all itself, you know, it's not too many people to get two, but, you know, just to get one, you know, everybody's happy, but to get two is just great.
All right. Before we wrap up, I read a quote.
Yeah.
I read a quote that you had said, you know, when you began coaching, you know, at Laverne. You said, I hope to bring my knowledge of college and European ball to help develop everybody individually. What are some of the principles and things that you want to instill in your guys just for life, you know?
It's, you know, the things that I try to tell the kids now, it's not just about dribbling the basketball. It's more of 80% of it is mental. You can't rely on just your skills alone. You have to study the game. You have to get an edge on top of everybody. You know, every pro that you see on TV just doesn't just go out there and shoot shots and think that they're going to be the best. They study the game.
Yeah.
And so I try to tell the guys, like, you have to study your game. Film don't lie, numbers don't lie. And you have to see yourself do it, you know, because I'm not just coach that's going to be yelling at you because you made a mistake. I yell at you because you made a mistake because you know better. You've seen it. You've seen it on film. You should know better. And that's where it is. And, you know, I try to tell guys, games like basketball should become easy. You know, a lot of people don't understand, like, scoring 30 points doesn't mean shooting 30 shots. You know, scoring 30 points could be stealing the ball, making layups, and scoring in different fashions. And, you know, a lot of kids don't understand, if you want to score 30 points or you know how to score, you have to get to your spots. You know, and I ask kids all the time, where are your spots? When you get to your spot, you should be able to pull up, and you should be able to understand that I'm going to make 70% of these shots. Every time you get to that spot, you should be able to make 70% of your shots, and you should be able to, you know, do what you do, you know, and that's just what it is. And, you know, when they're able to learn that, these kids can score all the time. And that's how I had to learn. My dad broke it down to me that way. And, you know, ever since then, you know, it wasn't about just shooting threes all the time. It was about getting to the free throw line when my shot wasn't right, getting steals. I knew Allen was going to shoot all the time, so I would try to go get offensive rebound. I mean, and that's how, you know, a lot of kids get frustrated. Oh, he's shooting all the time, or he's doing this. I ain't getting the ball. I said, well, go get the ball. You know, go get a rebound. You know their shots. Know what they're doing. And that's how I used to do it. You know, Allen, you know, we were boys, but he would get mad when I make a highlight dunking off one of his misses. You know what I mean? But at the end of the day, that's how you had to treat it. You had to know that he wasn't going to shoot 100%. And if you catch the right one, that everybody's going to talk about that one. Although Allen, you know, Chuck might have had 30, but they're going to talk about that one that you caught off the rim. And that's just where it was.
So that's over 1,900 points in your career at Bethel.
Yeah.
10 points, 3 assists, 2 rebounds a game at Wake Forest.
Yeah.
Story, I mean, great career, Virginia legend, ACC legend. I appreciate you stopping by, you know, and taking the time out with me to do this interview, man. Appreciate it.
Man, anytime you need me, whoever you got, if they want to go battle with me and talk about my area or whatever, I don't mind talking.
Yeah, I'll be locking into the show.
Yeah, at any time, it's all about basketball. You know what I mean? And I
do that.
And at the end of the day, I feel like, you know, the 757 always had players You know, we don't get a lot of credit, but, you know, it's always about, you know, it's either Allen or Joe, but we had some killers back in the day. And, you know, and at the end of the day, you always pay homage to the guys who led the way for other guys. But, you know, again, it's all about sports talk. And, you know, I appreciate all the love. And, you know, I look forward to talking some more.
All right, man. Appreciate you.
I appreciate you.
I'll be in touch with you.
Definitely. All right.
Shot clock.